Good evening, I believe we're live. This is a unique broadcast because I'm actually simulcasting. I'm actually broadcasting live on Facebook, and I thought I would take the opportunity to broadcast live on YouTube as well, which is a first for me. The nice thing about YouTube as well as Facebook is that not only does it cater for two sort of groups of viewers, but it will also be there for posterity, so people can search and look for that as well. So tonight's Facebook Live or live Q&A is here and designed to give people the opportunity to talk about recent videos that I've been making, which I have called the Puppy Training Journey. Hello Sue, glad you could join me. Now the puppy training journey seemed like the right thing to do because of course we took delivery of our own little Ruby just about 19th of December if I recall correctly, and yes, a dog is not just for Christmas, so remember, for us it was coincidental. I actually wanted a puppy in February. Let me adjust this light. Wanted a puppy in February, but you know, when the right dog comes along at the right time, we basically jumped in and did it a bit early. So the puppy training journey videos were quite an organic process. I just sat down initially and did a list of a list of titles that I thought would be helpful and useful for not just people with puppies currently, because maybe that pond, as it were, is quite small, relatively small, but of course people are always getting new puppies, and it's easy for me to forget that many people have their first puppy. Now we all have our first puppy, and you know that is so important because it is possible to make to put it as it is, it's easy to make some basic mistakes because, of course, unless you have been through the process a number of times, it's a relatively simple process, but simple doesn't mean it's easy. And so I think we're up to video number 12 now on the puppy training journey series. I would like to make probably at least 2 or 3 more. I would love to have the time to make videos full time actually, and as my work changes in years down the road, then that is quite possible. But for now it's a case of really balancing my day-to-day workload, which is consulting with people with dogs of all ages and breeds and all behaviour problems. So that's my day-to-day work, and on top of that, of course, I have expert witness work where I'm assessing dogs usually under the Dangerous Dogs Act, that have either bitten people or alleged to have bitten people, or they may be thought to be of type, as in pit bull types. So anyway, just a bit of preliminary chat there to myself up and to give the opportunity for some questions to come in. And I see that Michelle has dropped me a question, so that's lovely. I'll get to that very briefly. If you would be kind enough to share the video, as a viewer on Facebook, there is usually an opportunity, an icon somewhere, I don't see it, but an icon to share the video. So if you could do that and like it, that would be fantastic. And I actually have 2 viewers on YouTube, which is fantastic. Thank you for that. And I've got 10 on Facebook. So there's a dozen of us. Actually, there's 13. Oh, and the door's coming. I forgot about this. At 6:05, I instructed young Katie to bring in young Ruby. So here we have young Katie, my daughter, with little Ruby, who was 12 weeks on Thursday gone. Yes, so she's doing really well. Let me have a little. She's got 2 modes, Ruby. It's either on or off. She looks like she's fairly low key at the moment, but she's settled in extremely well. What's gone, maybe answering one of my own questions, what's gone particularly well? Well, she's super bright. Her dad was pure poodle. Her mum was golden retriever cross poodle of a second generation. So I think I've got that right. Sarah's always telling me I should sit down and learn it verbatim. But she's an absolute sweetheart. And she's taken everything on board. So what she does well, training, she's sitting. Katie taught her to do high fives today, which I've just been given a little demo of, albeit for chicken, so that's nice. So her day-to-day comings and goings are extremely good. She has taken everything in her stride, and I'm so pleased with that. What hasn't gone so well? Well, she still is reluctant to go in the crate last thing at night. We are putting her in with a little puppy Kong with some smooth peanut butter, and now she is doing at the most no more than 5 minutes complaining, and then she goes quiet. Excuse me, don't go please, because I will get distracted talking about my own puppy when actually I'm here to help people with theirs. So I'll hand Ruby back in a moment, but I just wanted to let you know that she's still alive and well. But yes, the night times we're still working on, but she's doing so well. We are proactively working on teaching her to be left alone, which you really should do with a puppy. If you give a puppy the opportunity, let me hand her over. Thank you.
Sister.
My beautiful assistant with my beautiful new puppy. Bless. Thanks, Katie. Yeah, so if you give your puppy the opportunity, it will follow you everywhere. And if you happen to be a stay-at-home person, or if you work from home, that is great. Nothing wrong with being with your dog all day, every day, actually. But it is important, just to finish this point, just to proactively build in time apart from your puppy so it can cope. Sensible periods, okay? Phil Oliver has joined. Good evening, Phil. I hope you're well. So let's get to some of these questions. And no rude comments, please, Phil. Let's have a look. So Michelle has a 13-week-old cockapoo, Bella. Yeah, so well behaved compared to Bella. Well, Ruby has her good moments, and as I said, she has her mad moments as well. Biting, nipping, bungee jumping off clothing is a big thing, and the words no biting, which we've tried, aren't working. We saw a trainer and she wanted us to give her a quick jab in the ribs, but that's not sitting very well with us. What else could we try, please? I've done a number of puppy visits where the behaviour is truly excessive, and we occasionally need to do a little, not poking, but a little sort of interrupting that behaviour and letting the puppy know in more clear terms that it's not acceptable. You could try keeping a lead on the puppy, especially for things like jumping up at clothing. As soon as that's happening, stop, stand still immediately, and simultaneously issue a up, and send something. You could progress it to say, get off. This is where a sit command can help, because you can then introduce the sit, wait for the sit, and then you can lean in to praise and to stroke your dog. If the dog persists on jumping up, I am not averse to brushing the dog off, and but not roughly. We need to make sure that your interactions with the puppy are appropriate with the age of the dog, the size of the dog, and all these other little subtle things they need taking into account. I am pro positive training, but with young dogs and sometimes older dogs, and I see the older dogs, average age of dogs I see is 2 years of age. And these dogs have continued with certain behaviours that may not have been nipped in the bud at this sort of 12 weeks age. Your puppy is 13 weeks old. Puppies are far more resilient than we imagine. Sometimes we are concerned that if we are too firm with them, even verbally, that it will damage them or damage our relationship with them. Ruby has had a smattering of clear corrections, because she will do things which are a bit mad. She's also done the grabbing at dressing gowns and slippers and things like that, because of course over the Christmas period, you know, we were chilling out quite a bit more and relaxing. Excuse me. Cup of tea on the go, Earl Grey, black, of course. So don't be frightened of correcting your dog, but correcting doesn't mean harshly shouting or smacking or being rough with your dog. What could also help you, Michelle, is that you look at a little timeout. Now, a timeout would be for 60 seconds only in, say, something like the hallway or the kitchen or a downstairs toilet if it's appropriate as a space and that it's a bit puppy proofed, and you leave the dog there for 60 seconds. Then when you return, you can bring the dog back into where it was, and then you can try again. All right, so a few, sometimes 2 or 3 timeouts on the back of each other can make a difference. So you can try that. So very often in my work, I'm also, because I'm looking at behaviour problems more than puppy training, I don't actually do classes of sit, down and stay and recall, although it's of interest to me, but my particular field is in addressing problems. So when we are addressing problems, we need to have a balanced approach. We want to reward the dog for behaviour we do want. So please place an emphasis upon that. Maybe have some little jars of soft, high value treats that you know your puppy loves around the room. So you can just quickly pluck your fingers in, pull out a treat, or maybe have these treats on you in your pocket. And when that dog is sitting for you nicely, you can drop the treat in with precision timing, and equally precision timing needs to be given for when you're saying the words to the dog, such as, or commands such as off or no, whatever words you believe works for your puppy. Okay, so I hope that helps, Michelle, and all of you. Naturally, if anything, there's only so much we can do with me sort of verbally conveying these ideas, and sometimes you might need you may need an actual demonstration of that firsthand. I don't do these Q&As to gain work. I'm fully booked, looking at my little technical diary, which are basically post-it pads stuck on my desktop. You know, I'm booked in January and I've got 2 or 3 spaces left in February. So it's not the work I'm looking for, it's actually genuinely to help you guys and to take a bit of time. And I enjoy doing this as well. So I hope that helps, Michelle. Valerie, hi Nick, had my new puppy for a week. Great, so we've got some new puppy owners here. She settled in really well. Problems, nippy biting, and my 2 other dogs keep grumbling at her. Been following your puppy videos. Thank you. So I meant to say to Michelle, actually, there is a playlist on my Facebook page and there is a playlist on my YouTube channel called The Puppy Training Journey. There's 12 videos there now. Videos about halfway, 6, I think I addressed puppy nipping. So please take the time to watch that. I do the subject of puppies and nipping and biting is a really popular question, because people will of course say no biting, and then the puppy just looks at them and thinks, okay, I'm going to carry on biting. And you may it depends on the mindset of your dog, how resilient it is. You may need to sort of amplify that a little so that the dog does understand that no biting does mean no biting. But do be sure to use something like I have this on the desk. It's a little puppy chew toy, and we've been putting peanut butter in here, and Ruby puts her feet on it and gives that a chew. So always, one of the key things in the puppy nipping video is to always have something available. Interestingly, Ruby is a very playful puppy. She's got a little basket of filled with toys, and she just goes in and pulls them all out. I've never really had that in a puppy before. My other 2, Max and Pip, who are sound asleep on the landing, and they're perfectly happy. You know, they weren't quite driven in that same way. So yeah, watch the video please on the puppy nipping. Yes, your other dogs keep grumbling at her. Well, so did Max and Pip at Ruby. Little Pip managed it as a terrier would, and she did lots of snapping, sort of air snaps. I was content there wasn't any real direct aggression towards Ruby from Pip, and it's all been overseen. We've not left them together, alone together really at any time. Max is a big dog, so he just sort of stands over Ruby and all his jowls are hanging down, and he just gives a low grumble, and occasionally he might sort of turn around with a whoa, and but it's all noise and sound effects. And really, Valerie, provided you're content that it is just noise and sound effects, and that your existing dogs are not doing anything dramatic, like really grabbing and pinning and making the puppy squeal and scream and cry, then it's going too far, and you may equally need to manage your older dogs a little as well as your puppy. Just a very quick note about older dogs and puppies, and I think it's a little bit of a misconception or misapprehension, is that people allow their older dogs maybe too much, because they think that that's the way it should work, to tell the puppy. But whilst that some dogs are very good at doing that, and I think my Max and Pip have been pretty good in that they know about, they've been sort of hitting a nice balance. They've been telling Ruby without going over the top. But some older dogs are very passive, and the owners can get a bit frustrated that the older dog is not telling the puppy off. So if that's the case, it will be, and should be anyway, your job as the owner to intervene so that the puppy isn't overwhelming your older dog, because that's important, and equally that you're managing the behaviour of the older dog. So you're basically managing behaviour of both parties, the puppy and the older dog. Okay, so I hope that helps, Valerie. Candy Wood has a 9-week-old miniature schnauzer. That's lovely, Candy. I see you've a question a bit lower down, which I'll come to. Carly, hello Carly, thank you for joining. Quick question, 5-month-old Labrador keeps stealing food from the kitchen surface. Any ideas how to stop this? So thank you, Carly. Yes, we had a chat in the week, didn't we? So thank you for joining in. So I actually thought about that this evening. Now, we don't allow our dogs in the kitchen at all. That's partly because we have a door between the kitchen and the lounge, and we are able to shut that door, but equally that door is open a good deal, and the little sort of threshold piece of strip which separates the sort of the quarry tiles from the flooring in the lounge, that's the line they're not allowed over. And little Ruby already understands that. She's learning it. She's not 100%, but she's getting there. And as soon as they step over it, I will say to them, out. Or I might do a bit of a sort of gesture as if to say, get back, out. And then once they're behind that threshold, sit and stay. And I then watch that dog like a hawk very carefully, especially if you're preparing food. So for a 5-month-old dog, it will be a process, okay? Excuse me. So the thing is as well, is that not everybody has a house laid out in that way, and I go to many homes which are very open plan, and there's no real easy ability to make a separation between the kitchen and the adjacent room, whatever that may be. So that's where you could use a couple of other approaches, because what I'm focusing on primarily is physical control of the dog and what the dog understands in terms of where it can and can't go. If you were able to set up a bed or a mat location for the dog, and to begin to train your dog on some send to bed commands, so you would be using food to lure the dog into the bed, the sit, and then feed immediately, and then you could sort of take a step back, a few seconds pause, return to the dog, and so then basically you extend the distances and the duration of those sits and stays in its bed. And also periodically throughout that time that the dog is in its bed, you can walk back to the dog and reward it for being in the bed. That's important and useful as well. You could also use, if convenient, something like a soft lead attached to a piece of furniture, and that would finish near the dog bed, so the dog could be relaxed in its own bed, but the dog is secured there. The dog would be able to sit up and turn around and lie down, but you've got that ability to control the dog physically whilst you are because when you're in the kitchen, you're going to be, I guess, doing tasks such as, emptying or loading the dishwasher, preparing food, cooking, serving up, tidying away, all of those things. You've got the washing machine and what have you. So another thought is that it's not unusual for me to find beds in the kitchen. I don't have a problem with that, because again, it's whatever works for you, and that can be something you need to think of as well. And that might then be a case of you really focusing on your dog staying in its bed, as I was just explaining, for a certain duration. Or you put the dog out of the kitchen altogether. You could use a baby gate at the door, and that you take this sort of fairly dry approach to what your dog can and can't do in terms of access. Now, if the dog is stealing food from the kitchen surface, I mean, I would actually rely in the beginning on and focus on that control. Is your dog able to get into the kitchen? Yes, because it's stealing food. Is there any way in which we could stop that from happening? And also to consider having a little lead on your dog. So just something like a 6-foot lead, because if your dog does get something it shouldn't have, then it can become a difficult game of the dog running away, you having to retrieve the item. Labradors can be prone to become possessive, and if this continues, the dog could then be a bit challenging with it as well. So having a soft lead on the dog, so as soon as it has something in its mouth, let's say a tea towel, then you can stand on the lead in the first instance. You can lift the lead up. And I'm just going on to another layer here. This is where it would be useful for you to teach your dog the hold and give command. And with puppies, that's extremely useful, because you are potentially preventing, which is the realm we always really want to be in, prevention rather than cure, as I say in many of the recent videos. This being a sort of a clasping on and a not letting go problem. So if you can teach your dog to let go of an item upon command, that can be really useful. There is on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/alphadog behaviour, a video there called The Hold and Give, and that's me practicing, or teaching actually. I was pretty much doing it the first time with young Max, as he was then, all of 8.5 years ago, the hold and give exercise. Okay, so I hope that helps you. Possibly not the most helpful comment, but do, dog proof your kitchen. So things will need to be pushed back out of the way. You might, for a period of time, need to manage all the towels and dishcloths so that you create an absolute minimum of temptation for your puppy, in combination with physical management as well. Okay, so hope that helps you, Carly. Thank you again for your question, and thank you for hanging on this week. Lynn Solomon, we have 6-month Labradoodle who gets very excitable when we see people or dogs on a walk. How can we handle this? Thanks. Well, thank you. More tea. Very thirsty work, all this talking. I had a cross face then. Is that somebody getting cross for me drinking tea? There's only 15 of you. I'll find out who it was. So, yeah, what we are looking at here then is excitable behaviour when we're saying hello to people. Where was that? Yes, Lynn. So this could be combated by you in the home as family concentrating, because it always starts in the home. This is where dogs spend 80–90% of their waking time, in the home. There's a bit of flexibility there, but for most dogs, in my experience over 20 years, that's the sort of percentage I've come up with. So every time you go to interact with your dog, let's say you're walking through a room and your dog stood up and it's just looking at you waving its tail, but rather than to say hello or to touch your dog randomly, ask for the sit. So you absolutely drum into your dog in the best possible way this idea that sit equals hello, and that you must deal with any clambering up on your knee, or if you're sitting on a chair, the dog jumps up on your lap. Brush the dog off immediately and use the word off. Follow that up then with a sit. Once the dog's sitting, then, and wait for it, just hold your hands up here, so it'd be sit. Wait if necessary. Once that dog's sitting, and incidentally, if he's jumping up again in the meantime, brush the dog off, okay? And once the dog is sitting, then that's when you need to be really quick. And ideally, as I touched on earlier, if you've got little bits of food on you or treats that you can put your hand on without any hesitation, it can make a big difference. So do reward what you do want, but the best way to overcome a dog which is clambering over people when it's when it's meeting them, whether it's in the home with existing family or out in public, and yes, I do realise that out in public it would be more exciting for the dog, and in some respects it will be more difficult to handle in public, but we're really looking at here, and this is lovely because we've got, you know, anything that we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-month-old dogs that we're looking at here, which is absolutely the right time to be looking at these behaviours. But if we can drill into the dog that sit equals hello, then you will be able to take that out with you. When you then, so let's be a bit more practical though, when you're then out in public and you are approaching somebody, what I basically do, to give myself a bit of space here, is I will, as I approach somebody, I would then assist the dog into the sit position. So I'll have one hand under its neck collar, and my other hand would just hopefully we've worked on the sit as well, incidentally, but my other hand will be gently running down its back onto its bottom, and then just gently pushing the dog into the sit position. And I will gently hold the dog in that position, and when you've got a hand on the collar and a hand on their bottom, that's really generally easy to maintain if the dog is appropriate for you, and you know, in terms of your size versus the dog's. And then you can look at the other person and say, you can say hello to her now. I'm teaching her to sit, to say hello. So don't be frightened of taking the initiative. Some people will say to you, oh, I don't mind, I've got dogs. Well, you know, we don't need to get into an argument, but we as diligent puppy owners come trainers sort of are thinking, well, I do mind, I don't want my dog jumping up, and I think most people would take that without a problem, okay? The other thing quickly about dogs jumping up on people in public is, if it's happening at a distance away from you, really you need to regain control, because your dog may not be ready to be loose. A lot of people will let their dogs loose too early, too soon, and just hope for the best. And these are the sorts of problems that we can have. So if your dog is jumping up at people at a distance from you, put your dog back on a long training line. A Labradoodle, if it's a standard sized, I would be using a 50-foot training line, as I am with Ruby, and she's only this big, and she drags it and she sort of runs sideways a bit, but I've got that control. Have a look at the very last video I did. There's some very nice examples of me standing on the training line and showing how a jogger was going by, and she would have run up to that probably and been doing some jumping up. So a long training line, and indeed focusing on the recall, are really important and good ways to address that. Okay, so hope that helps, Lynn, and enjoy life with your Labradoodle. Thank you. So as always, I am probably running behind. Not that I'm limited for time, but you know, questions versus time I'm allotting. So Monica, thank you for your question, Monica. My 1-year-old is on the lead. He has a go at other dogs growling and trying to get into a fight. How do I break the habit, please? He's a Malshi, which is a Shih Tzu cross something. I'm gonna have to think on that. I've got that before, but thank you. Okay, so in my day-to-day work, looking at behaviour problems, this is exactly the sort of thing that's more representative of my day-to-day work. So I am happy to take the odd, although I wanted to focus on puppies, I will quickly address this. So the trick here is that you need to start, surprise, surprise, but you need to start at the beginning. You specifically say it's a problem when he's on the lead, and so this is not unusual because when a dog is on a lead, he is restrained. He can't, some dogs, when you let them off the lead, now of course it's not appropriate to do that in the public street, but when you let them off the lead, they can be very different for the better because they're more relaxed, they can move around more, there's less pressure, they don't feel so hemmed in. But let's imagine as a very quick scenario, because this could relate, a lot of people will be able to relate to this, and I employ what I call the 1, 2, 3 method, which is a very simple method which I developed and used myself, but I can't really hold it up as being anything magical because it's so darn simple, but it works time after time after time, especially if the food is, especially if the dog is food driven. So you are walking along, you have your dog on the lead. When you see another dog coming towards you, most likely on a lead also if you're in the street environment, that's step 1. Bring your dog over to one side, ask it to sit and to stay. This will of course take repetition and practice. At the same point you'll be producing some magical food, not actually magical, but high value food for your dog, you know, like food with sparkles coming off, sorry. So you'll be producing some food for your dog, which is of great interest, and then you'll be feeding that food to your dog. So primarily this is a distraction technique. Incidentally, this works perfectly well with puppies as well, because with puppies what you're doing is setting up a new process. With older dogs you're using the same method actually to distract the dog and to overcome the same problem, albeit at a different end of the spectrum. Okay, so hopefully that gives you some ideas. When the other person is passing you, you might want to cross the road to begin with if you need the extra space. If so, that's fine. But whilst the other dog is passing you with that person, that's when the situation is at its hottest, and that's part 2 of the 1, 2, 3 method. And you'll be keeping your dog's attention on you, often what I describe in this bubble, you know, in this space. So the dog is more focused on you from as I'm looking down to the dog, rather than it being externally, you know, intent on getting at or barking at the other dog. Let the other dog pass whilst you're feeding your dog the high value food, and then when the dog has passed and let your dog see the other dog move by the way, you're not meant to be blocking its vision, and once the dog is calm and you feel it's fit and ready to move on, then do so, and then you can repeat that as much as you need to in different sorts of locations and environments as well. So that's the real essence of the 1, 2, 3 method. Step 1, you first see the dog come over to one side, start feeding and distracting your dog. Step 2, well, you continue to do that through the direct passing phase. And then step 3, well, the scenario is finished, and then you can move on and carry on your walk, but repeat that 1, 2, 3 method the next time it feels appropriate. That, even with the most difficult of dogs, although there's lots of other things I could go into in terms of equipment and dog body language and how we're managing the dog physically, but I won't go down that road because this isn't the actual time and a place this evening. But there are lots, as I say, of lots of other things that we could look at. Excuse me whilst I adjust this light. It's just in my eyes a bit. Okay, so thank you for that question, Monica. It's a good one and a common one. Okay, Candy Wood asks how we can distract our dog from other dogs. He started barking at all the dogs on a recent trip to Pets at Home. I refer you back to my last answer, using that 1, 2, 3 method. If anybody, although I usually give it to paid customers only, but if anybody would like a copy of my 1, 2, 3 method notes, please email me and I will happily send them over to you. It's nickjones@alphadogbehaviour.co.uk. Just ask for the 1, 2, 3 method notes and I'll send them over to you. I do realise that you can't just read something and it then solves the problem, but actually I do get a great deal of good feedback from that simple method. Candy, there are some other things that come to mind here, such as how sociable are you being with your young dog. You don't say how old he is. If you could say that, I would be grateful. But young dogs really need to be taken out on a daily basis, especially if you live in a rural area. So let's say from my location, if I drive due west of here, I'm going out into beautiful Herefordshire, and into more rural areas, which is great, but you're not necessarily able just to walk out and see other dogs and people and shops and what have you. So make a proactive effort on going to places like that. Keep your dog safe and secure, and do it on a daily basis, and you should see that reactivity just gradually fade, especially with a young dog that's well balanced. Otherwise there's no reason at all why that wouldn't happen. So good luck, Candy, with that. Thank you for your question. Neil Jones, hello Neil, welcome. 15-week cockapoo is pulling badly on the lead and bites it all the time. Any advice? It's the sort of question that is more of a demonstration based question and a more of a doing question. So with that, I would ideally take the lead, manage the dog myself and show you and work with you until we get your dog walking nicely. In terms of biting on the lead, this may or may not work, but it's more likely to work than not. You could spray the lead liberally with some anti-chew spray, so it's really bitter and unpleasant. Another approach, although I don't use chains in my work, but you could use a thin sort of chain lead, not a collar. The collar should always be soft and fabric so that it's not, and so it's not a choke chain. But I think it is quite permissible to use a metal lead or a chain lead, but nothing too clanky or heavy. 15-week old, we don't want lots of noise. So I'd be looking for something like almost like a rolled metallic thing. So it is metal, but it's very quiet. That could help. Another thing, Neil, is to get your dog calm before leaving the house. A lot of people, especially with older dogs as well, but it starts in puppyhood, and this could be where you are, is that they open the front door and the dog's pulling them out, and obviously your dog can only do so much at 15 weeks, but actually dogs can be pretty energetic at that age. And the sense of excitement and maybe, if it applies to you, lack of control around the beginning of the walk is going to be in no way conducive to your dog walking to heel. I would like to suggest you look at classes for a dog of that age, because it is a demonstration thing, and I feel that I'm going to fall a bit short on going into some practical methodology on how to overcome it. You might like to look at a body harness. There are two types of body harnesses. One is a fixed type, which you just adjust and strap around your dog and clunk click and off you go. And then there are other anti-pull harnesses which just tighten a little around the dog, not that it would hurt it. A particular harness I like and get good feedback from is the Happy at Heel harness. Okay, I have no shares or affiliation to them, but you are welcome to go on there. Speaking of affiliation and what have you, there I do have a what's called an influencer store. It sounds posher than it is, I think, but it's a little store on Amazon, and I have procured a list of items on there that I have direct familiarity with or have also been using with Ruby. So if you go on amazon.co.uk/alpha dog behaviour, you'll see my storefront come up, and then you will see a subsection called puppy related products, and you can indeed purchase that item there. You buy them at the normal price, and I think I make a grand total of 5 or 6% on each sale. But anyway, it helps the world go round, and it is a list there for me to direct people to on a regular basis. So I hope that helps, but primarily, Neil, with pulling in such a young dog, I would look at training and good technique using, ideally, I like a soft collar and a soft lead, okay? And if you can get somebody to show you how to walk your dog using that good standard equipment, I think that would be the most ethical and sound way forward. So again, thanks for your question. Sarah Kennard, hi Nick. Hello Sarah, my dear, hope you're well. Always nice to see you pop up. Enjoy your Sunday evening. Phil Oliver, hey Nick, hey Phil, rock and roll. Lucy Bailey, we love your videos. Thank you so much. They're there to help. Good preparation for our puppy's arrival in March. Yep, 2 queries we have. One, do you put the, I'm reading this, so I have to filter it a bit. Do you put the comfy bed in the crate? 2, do we allow the puppy on the sofa? Those are really good questions, especially the second one about the sofa. So, do you put the comfy bed in the crate? No, is the short answer and best answer to that, because puppies will destroy nice beds very often, not always, but don't give your young pup access to anything more than veterinary fleece bedding in a crate until you are confident the dog is past the destruction and chewing phase. And that, frankly, might be 12 months or so. It depends on whatever dog you have and what its inclinations are in terms of chewing. Many people tell me, well, I spent, you know how much you can spend on dog beds now. So they gave it the nicest Orvis dog bed, and it just destroyed it, pulled all the filling out. And of course that filling can actually damage your dog. I think a lot of that is very synthetic. It might be in itself non-toxic, but if your dog ingests that, it could be quite serious. So only put in a crate, what I call veterinary bedding. You can also see that on my Amazon store, and make sure that's good quality. It has a really strong cotton backing, and then the top, I'd be interested to see how they manufacture this, but it's almost like spun out of that material, and it's very thermal, it washes easily, it dries quickly, so that's what I would put in a crate, okay? You can allow your puppy on the sofa, but obviously when Ruby was this big, she wasn't able to get up on the sofa. With a leap and a jump, I think, especially from a dog bed up onto the sofa, she's quickly going to be able to do that. So my personal approach and thinking is, and I realise it varies, some people may not care less whether their dogs are on the sofas or not. I do, because not only is it just access to your furnishings and the things that you buy for your home, it's also about good manners. Is your dog stopping and looking and asking to come up? Are things being given to your dog, because it is a privilege? Are these things being given in a way that your dog understands it's a privilege? Okay, so the way I do that is, if little Ruby comes to me and I think she looks like she wants to have a cuddle, and if it's the timing's right for me, she comes up to me, I ask her to sit, I wait for the sit, she understands the command. As soon as she's sitting, oh good girl, and then I lean in and pick her up and she can come up on the sofa. So don't overthink it. The rule ultimately depends on you, but if you do allow the dog on the sofa, I do like to encourage people to get the sit and wait first, and so the dog understands it is more on your terms. Okay, hope that helps, and good luck with your puppy, Lucy. That's exciting. Ian Potter, hello Ian, nice to see you, hope you're well. Joanne Crompton, any help with toilet training? Let me just scan ahead a little. Slurp of tea. Okay, good. Right, thank you. So Joanne asks, sorry for the pause, just reading ahead. And also let's just see if I'm missing anything on YouTube. I don't think I'm missing any messages. Got 2 of you on YouTube, thanks guys. View chatting options. No. Maybe if somebody can just say hi on YouTube, I'd be grateful to see if that comes up on the screen. Right, sorry for the digression. Yeah, Michelle Connolly, thank you. You're very welcome. So, yeah, Joanne, your puppy is 6 months old and still having accidents in the home. She's not telling us when she wants to go out. She looks at us when she is doing a naughty. Okay, have I missed? I thought I might have missed a question. No, maybe not. Yeah, Andrew Jones, good. Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. That's come up on the screen. That's my brother in the US of A. Rock and roll. Yeah, still having accidents in the house. Look, if that's happening, it's a little bit like a pothole in the road. You're going to need to come back on yourselves and fill that pothole in. How do you do that? Well, I would do... Of course, we can't really have a very good two-way conversation via this medium, but I would just give you some rough ideas. Increase the frequency that you're taking your dog out. That might mean that you're doing it every 30 minutes. So you're, in a way, it's almost like overkill. And this I might dwell on this subject a bit longer, because this relates, of course, the subject to toilet training with puppies is such a popular question, and it's such a common issue. So if anything, overdo it in the beginning with visits to the garden. Don't, one of my very first videos on the puppy training journey covers this. It might have even been video 2 or 3, but please go back and watch that. I talk there in that video about keeping the dog on a short lead, not letting the dog loose around the garden and charging around and playing, because when they're loose they can get distracted and go off and start doing their own thing, and they forget what they're out there for. And sometimes it might be a case of you being lucky if they have a pee when you're out there. So keeping a dog on a short lead repeatedly, and that's a key thing, repeatedly going to an area of your choosing that you know the dog likes to use, would be very useful. So so with that degree of repetition to that set area, then using a little keyword. Lots of people have different words. I say hurry up. Some people say be clean, or some people say toilet, or what have you. It doesn't matter really. You could say apples and pears really, as long as your dog understands that key command. So frequency, location, key commands, reward your dog every time it goes there. Now with little Ruby, we just needed to say good girl, and she sort of like look up at us while she was cooping down having a pee. So you could see that she was very pleased with the process, or that she understood that we were pleased. And of course, if we're pleased, that gives the right message, and she will learn that that's the right thing. Okay, so those are the 4 things I would really focus on. If you take your dog out and it doesn't do anything, and of course the more times that happens, so let's say you've taken your dog out 3 times over a 90-minute period, then it stands to reason that your dog's going to be increasingly more in need of a toilet break. You will need to watch your dog like a hawk in the house. You will need to watch your dog to the degree where it's not even going out of your sight. If you're using a dog crate, and let's say you had to pop upstairs and you're thinking, oh, my dog hasn't used the toilet in the garden for a while, then I would use the crate, if you're using one, for that 5-10 minute period, okay? Because dogs, crate training can, you don't say whether you're using a crate or not, but crate training can greatly facilitate toilet training. Because dogs are a great deal less likely to soil in their sleeping space, okay? Not 100% true, but generally speaking, it is. So those are going to be my suggestions. Another quick thought for you. Oh, some more angry faces. I'm sure that somebody's pressing the angry button by mistake. Accidents in the home, clean them up. Don't tell the dog off. Just put the dog out of the room and clean it up. There are some, there's a good product online. You'll have to, I think you buy it from the actual website. It's called urine off ! And it might be something, if you Google something like urinoff.com, then that product I have down as being one of the best ones to get rid of any of the smells that are left or associated when a dog has done anything in the home. So make sure you're cleaning up as well, but don't tell the dog off for it. If your dog is relieving itself right in front of you, then the most I might consider is something like an ah, and then rush over to the dog. So in a way it is a bit of a startle and an interruption, and you take the dog straight outside. Make sure you've got stuff near the back door or wherever you that door is, such as a lead and a torch and maybe some boots and a brolly, so you can go straight out and finish that dog's toileting in that area, okay? So I hope that helps. And actually, just as a quick diversion, how we undo problems is a very good way of not having them happen in the first place, and vice versa. I hope that makes sense. So prevention is better than cure, but the cure can also be taken, like I was saying earlier about the 1, 2, 3 method. The cure to deal with dog-to-dog problems is to get the dog to sit and to stay and to pay attention to you, and you feed the dog as the other dog passes. But that's exactly what I do with all of my 3 when we're out in public. So let's say we're walking along a bridleway and a cyclist is coming, I get them to me, I get them to sit and to stay whilst the cyclist passes, and then they're released to go. So there's that sort of interplay between problem solving and basic training in the beginning, okay? So back to the questions here. Please, folks, remember to like and share. That makes the world go round, and I'll be grateful to you. Thank you very much. Yeah, so Karen Connor. Hello, Karen. 5-month-old Labradoodle hates to be left home alone, barks and cries constantly the whole time. I've watched her on a dog cam. I can leave her toys and shoes, but she totally ignores these. What else can I do? Yes, so does your dog sleep in your bedroom, I wonder? Some people might think I'm making a bit of a elaborate jump to conclusion, but your dog needs to learn to sleep away from you. I'm not inherently against dogs being in bedrooms. I know many people do this, but it doesn't teach the dog to be left alone. We've had quite a long run of noisy nights from little Ruby, but we've absolutely persisted. We've not gone down to her, and now she can go into the crate, and she is she's, you know, within a few minutes she's calm and quiet. Okay, so it's really about being quite determined yourselves about what access you give your puppy to you. Okay, let me just get your question back here. Yeah, so you need to build these times up. So I do encourage you to get your dog to sleep out of your bedroom at night. That may or may not be happening already, I realise that. And then in the day, watch out for, obviously I don't know your day-to-day circumstances, don't let the puppy follow you everywhere. If you're going to the bathroom, if you're having a bath, if you're going up for a shower or to get changed, if you're quickly popping into another room, tell your dog, at least begin to tell your dog to sit, to stay, to teach your dog to do those things for you. If you're not doing that, then you're missing a trick, because this in a way is the beginning of the dog learning to be apart from you. If you think your dog is safe to be left loose in a low value room, by that I mean something like a kitchen where there isn't too much the dog can do, or a utility room, then just do that for 5 minutes. Maybe be more conscientious if you can in the day of building in 5-10 minute periods throughout the day. See if you can find something that you can put in the Kong so that you really are distracting it, that's of much greater value. I do realise that if a dog is sufficiently stressed, it will not touch the Kong, but what we would hope to see as you do more and more of it is that the dog's stress will reduce, and then in keeping with that, the dog will then be able to think, oh, there's a Kong over there, I think I'll have a go on it. A little tip, when you do come back, pick the Kong up, because I almost guarantee as soon as you come home, your dog will run to the Kong and start eating it, because it's so delighted and relieved that you're back, it can then focus on the Kong. So lift the Kong up, or whatever it was you put down, put it in a little Ziploc bag, put it in the fridge or the freezer, ready for issue next time around. Okay, it is possible, but really make a concerted effort when you come home on the subject of sort of separation related issues. Just ignore your dog until it's calm enough so that you can do the sit equals hello. So don't come in and make a hyper fuss of your dog. It's very tempting to do that because of course puppies are so damn cute, but just be cool and relaxed when you come in, because if you're very excitable when you come in, it can cause, I think, stress when you leave the dog alone. So we're trying to have a nicely balanced puppy and not trying to encourage in our puppy real sort of peaks and troughs as you may be experiencing in your situation. Okay, so I hope that helps, Karen. Thank you for that. Candy comes back with a quick question about peanut butter. You've got somebody with a peanut butter allergy in the home. Nothing with nuts. Yeah, what else could you use? Well, if you were, for example, feeding your dog a wet food, like a sticky wet food, we've got little Ruby on a brand called Fourth Glade, which I do favour. That food is like it's not a paste, it's like a pate, and that's quite conducive, not just to feed a dog, but then you could think, well, I've got a Kong which are traditionally hollow, and then you could fill the Kong with that, so that would overcome that easily. If you were feeding the dog a dried food, you could make a mash out of that, so get a couple of jugs, mugs rather, of that dried food, cover it in really hot water and let it soak for a couple of hours, and then within that mixture, which will be, because you could mash that up a bit, nice I know, but you know, I'm sure your dog will enjoy it if it's food driven, you could drop in some little specks of chicken or some healthy foods that you could then make up a nice traditional Kong. So look up Kong stuffing on Google and you'll find a surprising number of recipes for doing that. But keep them healthy, and if you are feeding your dog a wet food, which I personally do, then you've got a good product really that you can just divert straight into the Kong. So that's perfect. Hope that helps. Katie Jones has joined. Welcome, Katie. Toilet training help, Samantha Loudon. Very general question, and I've already discussed it, and I refer you to my puppy training journey video, okay, number 3 I think it was, and there is a playlist of all of the videos both on youtube.com/alphadogbehaviour, and there is a playlist on the videos on this Facebook channel. Jane Lyle, hello Jane, hope you're well, long time no see. Carly, you're welcome for that. Lisa Langford, hello Lisa, hope you're having a nice Sunday evening, it's 7 o'clock. Now, I shall sort of run on a little bit. Looks like we might have some more questions, which is fine. Christine Alsop, you're welcome, thank you. Liz Potter, hello Liz, we've got both Potters on this evening, so that's great, hope you're well. Lynn Solomon, thanks Nick, that's great advice, you're welcome. Puppy collar versus harness, which is more suitable? It depends on a few things. I think if in doubt, use a harness, okay? Puppies, because they're just a bit nutty in the early stages, they can spend time sort of rising up on their back legs, and if they're wearing a collar, then they can end up causing a bit of stress around the throat, which is not too good. So I think the short answer would be harness, but then just to develop that thinking a little bit, you could go down the road, which I do like this idea. It's good when you like your own ideas, isn't it? Is that you have a double-ended lead. So you have a harness on the dog, and most harnesses you have a little attachment between the shoulders on the back of the dog, and then the lead comes up to your hand and then back down the other end with another clip, and that will be or can be connected to its regular neck collar. The neck collar should be quite broad, obviously that's about an inch there, but even on most dogs, once they get 3 or 4 months of age, a soft collar of that sort of nature would be fine. Please don't use any check chains. Unbelievably, you can still buy them. Don't use, even if you can help it, any half check chains. I'm not a fan because they do cinch, and people, unless they really know what they're doing, it can cinch to the point where it's still too tight on the dog, so you effectively end up with a choke chain or choke collar. Okay, so that can help. The reason I suggest using both is that you can start placing a bit of emphasis on the harness, and then as the dog settles down, as you give it more training and it becomes more alongside you with the walking and your efforts, you can then begin to gently direct the dog a little bit more with its neck collar. The closer you can manage a dog sort of to the head end, the better. When you have a dog, control a dog by the chest, it can pull you really well. But if you have, it's a bit like horses, you would never try to lead a horse by any area around the chest, because it's just too much mass there and too much strength. But when we start managing an animal by the head, provided it's been introduced to the device correctly over a period of a week or two, that can be far preferable. Okay, but I realise there are varying views on that. But again, the short answer is start on a harness, and then you can think of ways on how to divert your attentions onto a simple neck collar later on. And there's no harm either in sticking with a body harness for life. The other glad I thought of this, I have seen a few dogs slip out of body harnesses. All a dog needs to do, especially if the harness is loose fitting, is to go backwards, and once its elbows have slipped past that harness, it's off. And this is another reason I like doubling up the lead, a double-ended lead to the neck collar, or even at least having a little connecting link between the body harness to a neck collar, so you then check the neck collar so it can't just slip over the dog's head. Okay, everything does need to be well fitted. Even a pet shop or your local vets, or just seeking a couple of minutes of advice from a trainer would prevent this. Okay, so body harnesses are good, but I've seen dogs slip them, and when a dog is doing that when it's in potentially a stressed state, that is not a good recipe. All right. Yes, Candy, your puppy was 9 weeks old in your arms. Yeah, thank you. Okay, Deborah, you have a pug which is reactive when out walking. I refer you back to about 20 minutes ago in this video, rather than to repeat the interruption of the phone call there. So yes, the 1, 2, 3 method, any reactivity, especially for dogs on leads, reactive in public, email me for my 1, 2, 3 method. I'll gladly send that out to you. Nick Jones at alphadogbehaviour.co.uk. Inquiries can be made to my website, which is alphadogbehaviour.co.uk/contact. Drop me a line there and I will respond to you. Okay, what else have we got here? Lucy Allen, 8-week-old cockapoo, wondering how do I stop from jumping and biting. Also, I had exactly the same question at the beginning, so please wind back and have a look at that. Thank you very much. Okay, same question actually about is a harness better than a lead? So it's interesting. It's very interesting, isn't it? Especially with young dogs, how we get you know, the same questions, and it's like, and that's fine, by the way. As I was saying at the very beginning, you know, we can have, because I look at these things on a daily basis, it's very easy for me over the years to become complacent and think, well, people will know what to do here. But of course, we all have our first puppy, and it's such a valuable and important time. And if we can get things right in these first few weeks, and certainly the first 3 to 4 months, that can make a profound difference on the behaviour and how of your puppy and your dog, and how well it copes with life in public. It's so important. Okay. Lucy Bailey, you're welcome. Sarah Ransom, hello my love, hope you're well. Sarah Hodgson has joined. Nicola Child has joined. Hello ladies, hope you're both doing well. See you tomorrow, Nicola. Karen Connor, yes, okay, thank you. So Karen's coming back about this separation thing with her puppy, which is common and needs to be looked at. So she is downstairs at night in the same room I leave her in, so that's good. Continue with that. And you just might have some mileage in leaving a little Kong at night. Because some puppies, the subject of separation and when the problem arises, it can be what we might call contextual. So some puppies or dogs will be happily left under certain circumstances, but not in others. So it can vary a great deal. And the subject of separation anxiety, just to give it a broad heading, can really manifest in some quite peculiar little ways. Okay, but the key is to say that regardless of how it's manifesting, sort of focus on that and work upon it until you feel, and always look to build things up gradually. We're not, some people do make the mistake of, well, I'll go out and leave him for 3 hours and that will teach him to be left alone for longer periods. Well, it won't, because in fact your dog will just learn that because it's left for long periods, you need it's very stressful to be left. So you need to start, and I don't mean to state the obvious, but you need to start at the bottom of that ladder and to work up the durations in keeping with what your dog can cope with. All right. Slurp of tea. Tea's gone cold, but we can live with cold tea. Gemma Reed, hi Nick, your videos are great. Thank you, Gemma. That's so sweet of you. I'm glad they're. I hope they're helping you. That's what they're there for. Gemma, 7-month-old golden doodle, gone from sleeping through for 8 hours, usually 10 to 6, amazing, to waking up between 4 to 5 a.m. whining and barking. He's always slept in a crate downstairs and we haven't changed anything since he came to us at 4 months. People have told us it's just puppy adolescence, that he will grow out of it. Is this common? Well, there's 2 questions, the one you've asked and the one you haven't. The one you've asked is it common? That isn't particularly common for a dog to start whining at that age, especially when things were going so well. The question you haven't asked is, what do you do about it? And my answer to that is that you don't return to the dog, period. You were previously doing 6 a.m, so I would set that possibly 5:30, but I'd keep it simple, and I would set 6 a.m. as the limit. And you maybe like clockwork, if it's possible, it depends on your work routine and your lifestyle at home. But if it's possible, you go down every morning again at 6 a.m. If you start going down at 4 or 5 a.m. or sometime in between there, you are essentially returning to your dog's calling, and then you will make a rod for your own back, and you can sort of reinforce the regression. So that's not what we want. I know it's a bit blunt, but a 7-month-old dog should be able to manage 6. You know, he was previously doing it, and so I just advise you strongly just to revert to going back to 6 a.m. If you eventually want to get up at 7 a.m, let's say, then once you've established dry ground with the 6 a.m, then you can push things back a little bit. So it might be 6:05, 6:10, 6:15. Then you might just mix it up a bit and go back to 6:05, then 6:20, 6:25, 6:10. So you're sort of doing a push, and then fall back a bit, never come down before 6 a.m. But you're sort of working towards 7 a.m. across the board. Okay, Helen? So I hope that helps. I'm very passionate about this, actually, will need, if you're anything like me anyway, your sleep. You know, being well and being well rested in yourself is critically important. A golden doodle, welcome to the club. Well, I'm joining your club. I'm coming into it after you. Any puppy anyway, you need to be fresh and up for it each day. And if you're getting up at 4 a.m, you won't be, not certainly after a few nights of that anyway. So don't go down to the dog. Use earplugs if necessary. I've even got the earplugs I use on my Amazon store, because there's no point in you lying there listening to it either. Okay, so thanks for the question. Okay, Lucy Allen, thank you, you're welcome. Loving the videos, says Karen, you're welcome. This is great. I think we're coming to a natural conclusion after about an hour, which is perfect. Lynn McGill, I love your idea of using a sling to carry a pup. Where can I get one, please? The ones I've seen all seem very low on the body. Well, Lynn, I hope you're watching still, because I've got good news for you. You can have mine. Because we stopped using it, and I'm not quite giving it away in the way that I anticipated, but I did think, I could run a little competition and somebody could have my used puppy sling, but that's probably a bit elaborate and excessive. So Lynn, if you drop me an email with your address, I'll pop it in the post to you. My email address is nickjones@alphadogbehaviour.co.uk. Put your address in, remind me that it's for the sling, and I will get it sent out to you throughout this week, okay? At least that's on the assumption that you need one. I'm guessing you do by the way you've presented that question. So, and that is it, then fine. Oh, actually no, Joanne Calder, all the way from Australia. Hello, my love, hope you're well. It's going to be, I can't work it out what time it is over there. Hope you're keeping cool. I'm gathering you're having a bit of a heat wave. So that's lovely. Thank you for joining in. Katie just jumped on. So sorry this has been asked already. Well, let's have a look. You've got a rescue Cavachon. You've had her 2 months. Believe she's 3 years old. Fine. We tried crate training and she seemed so stressed and screamed and barked non-stop. Is there a way to get her to like it, or should we just not attempt it? We have a toddler and a 13-year-old at home. That's a good question, because I do think there comes a point when, on the balance of things, getting an older dog, and 3 years is older, certainly not a puppy, it's a fully fledged adult dog, used to a crate, could be more hassle than it's worth. You know, just to ask you the question back without you needing to reply, but You know, does the dog really need to go in a crate at night? Would it settle downstairs in the lounge or in the kitchen or in a utility room? Potentially, this is the age of a dog where you might want to consider having the dog in your room with you at night. Customers that are listening to me saying, well, hang on a minute, why is he advising somebody to put their dog in their bedroom when he's spent so much time and effort getting my dog out of my bedroom? It depends on the circumstances. If we have a dog in a home which may be showing aggression to people, aggression to the owner, possessive over things, objects or people, you know, domineering in any way, these are the sorts of problems I look at. Then if we have a dog then in the room or controlling owner's behaviour in that room, then I am quite clear that the dog should come out of that space. Anyway, I'm going off at a tangent. But so it is actually a case of horses for courses. It depends on the circumstances. As you say, you've got a toddler and a 13-year-old at home, plus a new dog. I wouldn't allow the dog in any of course, I don't mean to state the obvious, but in a nursery or a child's room. It could, I mean, you might find that it would sleep in the crate next to you in your room, and that you could do that for a week or two, and then begin to go through 2 or 3 stages where you bring the dog out of your room over a period of a week or 2. So stage 1 in your bedroom, stage 2 out of your bedroom but on the landing. You could have the door open. Then stage 3 is that it could be down in the room that you'd like it to be in ultimately. That might work. If you want to persist with the crate, I would have the crate door open for a week or 2 and just let the dog go in and out of its own accord. If you try to force it, especially if a dog is stressed and screaming and barking non-stop of that age, then I would think twice, because you know, it could be more, it's sort of leaning down the road of actually you could be trying to push water uphill there. So I hope that makes sense for you, Katie. Helen Yates, you're welcome, thank you. Lynn McGill, thank you so much for the harness, you're welcome. I hope you make good use of that. It might need I think it's pretty clean, we might need to wash it. Candy Wood, thanks for answering the questions, love the videos. You and your puppy are learning, that's great. Actually, one thing I found with Ruby is that she does sit and watch TV. She's quite fascinated by the television. I know this isn't unique, but the other 2 don't do this. So it's quite funny watching her watching television. Joanne, looking great, Nick. Thanks, my dear. Vids are always so informative and fun. Keep up the good work. Love it. Love you. Thank you. Thank you very much, says Katie. Yes, she's currently sleeping in my room. We did try crate training in my room. I mean, she would rather sleep next to it, lol. Well, that does also suggest, as a quick by the way, that she had the option of coming out. So if you are using a crate, remember we're talking a 3-year-old dog here, by the way, folks, not a 3-month-old puppy, then I would put her in and shut the door. But as long as you come up with some balance that works for you, and also provided that dog can be left, Katie, in the day for sensible periods as well, you know, that would that's essential, I think, because you need to know that you can leave your dog in the day, even if it is with you throughout the night. So I hope that makes sense. Neil Jones, are you posting the Q&A online so we can rewatch? Yes, it will. I will automatically save it. So actually some of you will be in the longer run watching this on a rewatch. So thank you if that applies to you. But yes, it will automatically get posted up, and I'll probably pin it to the top for a few days. So that's great. That naturally brings us to the end of that Q&A. Can I just thank you all again for your input. Those videos over the Christmas period, because there were so many of you at home and they were landing in your inbox at a time Katie's offering to have Ruby. Yes, please, Katie, we'll have Ruby again if you've got a minute. Ruby's coming up to say goodbye. Oh, sorry. I've distracted myself. So easily distracted. I have completely lost my thread. Yeah, over the Christmas period, putting all the videos up. So that actually did bring in quite a few new followers onto the Facebook page especially. So a warm welcome to all of you. Thank you. You'll probably see a slightly less puppy-centric page in the coming months, because most of my work is actually looking at older dogs and their behavioural issues. For the reasons of sensitivity and sometimes confidentiality, I don't always go into great war and peace on the conditions I'm seeing dogs for, because I don't think most owners would want me to say this dog was doing this, that and the other. But I like to keep you abreast of what I'm doing and where I am. So that's that. Again, please like and share, and that helps the internet juice go around. I will just see if I can string this out a bit until Katie comes up. Yeah, Stacey Barrow, your battery died whilst watching. Well, I'm not surprised, an hour and a quarter. Can you watch it again on replay? Yes, it will just be on my page, and that it will also be published on my YouTube page. Maybe a few words about Pet Plan. I, as many of you know, am now the pet behaviourist for Pet Plan, which is a genuine pleasure for me. We have just renewed our, or better phrase to say, we've solidified our relationship for 2019. So throughout the rest of this year, I think every other month on a Sunday, about 3 p.m, I do Facebook Lives on their channel. I record them and then repost them here, so you'll see those as well. But they will also be a blend of puppies and adult dogs. I've got some, I won't reveal all because it's not right to do so at the moment, but I've got a fun Q&A coming up with Pet Plan, whereby I'll be working with Pet Plan's vet, and we'll be taking individualised questions between us. So I'll be doing the behaviour, he will be doing the veterinary questions, and so I think that will make a nice blend, and you'll see those come up as well throughout the year. I'm also making more videos with Pet Plan, which will be high quality, broadcast quality videos, which are primarily for their own customers' usage, but I think that will be of interest as well, and I will share those as they come up. So otherwise this year it's more of the same, more fun, more behaviour, more expert witness work, and as you know, I like to stay fairly active on social media, so you'll see me popping in and out on a regular basis. Ruby hasn't appeared, so rather than for me to go off and to mess about, I will just apologise for that. Keep tuned, her pictures will be coming up regularly. Ruby, at about 5-minute mark, does come into the room, so have a look there. Alright, so thank you again, sincere thanks for joining me, and I hope to catch you all on the next Q&A. Bye for now.